Coffee is more than just a drink, it's a global phenomenon. Consumed by over 2.25 billion people every single day, it's the most popular beverage after water, and it plays a role in nearly every culture on Earth. Grown in more than 70 countries along the equator, with Brazil leading production, coffee connects farmers, traders, and drinkers in an industry second only to oil in global trade. Its history is marked by both praise and controversy. Banned at times in places like Mecca, Venice, and even Europe, yet celebrated as a social drink that fueled revolutions, politics, and philosophy. From Ethiopia's ancient coffee ceremonies to Finland's record-breaking consumption, from Italian espresso bars to modern coffee chains, this humble bean has shaped traditions, economies, and lifestyles for centuries. Packed with caffeine, the world's most widely consumed psychoactive substance, coffee energizes, inspires, and sparks conversation across the globe. It is not merely a beverage, it is a culture, a ritual, and a shared human experience. Its story begins in Ethiopia around the 9th century, where legend tells of a goat herder named Kaldi who noticed his goats dancing energetically after eating red coffee cherries. From Ethiopia, the energizing drink traveled to Yemen, where Sufi monks used it to stay awake during long nights of prayer. The Yemeni port of Mocha soon became a bustling center of the coffee trade, giving the drink its famous nickname Mocha. By the 15th century, coffee was cultivated across Arabia, and by the 16th century, it had spread to Persia, Egypt, Syria, and Turkey. In these regions, coffee houses known as kahvekhana became social hubs for music, chess, debate, and storytelling, earning the title schools of the wise. Coffee eventually crossed into Europe through Venetian traders in the 17th century. At first, some Europeans distrusted the drink, calling it the bitter invention of Satan. But this changed when Pope Clement VIII tasted it in 1600 and declared it delightful. Soon after, the first European coffee house opened in Venice in 1645, and within decades, coffee houses spread across England, France, Austria, and Germany. London's coffee houses became famous as penny universities, where for the price of a cup of coffee, people could join lively discussions about politics, philosophy, and science. Meanwhile, European colonial powers spread coffee cultivation around the globe. The Dutch introduced it to Java in Indonesia, while the French, Spanish, and Portuguese established plantations in the Caribbean, Central America, and South America. By the 19th century, Brazil rose to dominate global production, a position it still holds today. In America, coffee gained patriotic symbolism after the Boston Tea Party of 1773, when colonists turned to coffee as an alternative to British tea. During the Industrial Revolution, coffee fueled factory workers through long shifts, becoming essential to modern working life. Today, centuries after Kaldi's goats first danced, coffee has grown into the world's second most traded commodity after oil, shaping cultures, economies, and daily routines across the globe. It isn't just one flavor or one type of bean, it's a world of diversity. There are 4 main types of coffee beans grown around the world: Arabica, Robusta, Liberica, and Excelsa. Arabica is the king of beans, making up nearly 70% of the world's production. It originated in the highlands of Ethiopia and thrives at cool, high altitudes, where the slower growth allows the beans to develop complex flavors. Arabica coffees are prized for their smooth, sweet taste with notes of chocolate, sugar, and fruit. However, this quality comes at a price. Arabica plants are delicate, vulnerable to pests and diseases, and expensive to grow, which is why Arabica coffee is more costly. Robusta, on the other hand, is tougher. Native to sub-Saharan Africa, it grows in hotter climates and at lower altitudes, making it cheaper and easier to cultivate. Robusta beans contain almost twice as much caffeine as Arabica, giving the coffee a stronger, more bitter, and earthy flavor. While some coffee drinkers dismiss it as harsh, Robusta plays a crucial role in blends, especially for espresso, where it helps create the thick, foamy crema on top. It's also the backbone of most instant coffee, thanks to its high caffeine and bold flavor. Then there are the rarer varieties. Liberica, native to West Africa, produces much larger beans than Arabica or Robusta and has a distinctive woody, smoky flavor that sets it apart. In the late 19th century, When a devastating coffee leaf disease wiped out much of the Arabica crop, Liberica temporarily rose in importance. Today, it is mainly cultivated in the Philippines and Malaysia, where it's cherished as Barako coffee. Excelsa, once thought to be its own species, but now classified as part of the Liberica family, is even rarer. Found mostly in Southeast Asia, it has a unique, fruity, tart flavor with hints of dark roast, adding depth and complexity to coffee blends. Although Arabica and Robusta dominate supermarket shelves and cafes worldwide, Liberica and Excelsa remain treasures for adventurous coffee lovers who want something unusual. Together, these four beans shape the global coffee experience, ranging from smooth and sweet to bold and bitter, to smoky and exotic. The type of bean doesn't just determine taste, it reflects history, geography, and culture, reminding us that each cup of coffee is a journey through centuries of farming, trade, and tradition. Before coffee ever reaches a cafe or kitchen, it begins as a small red cherry growing on a shrub in tropical regions. Inside each cherry are two seeds, the coffee beans we know so well. Once harvested, these cherries must be carefully processed, and the chosen method has a profound effect on the flavor of the final cup. The most traditional approach is the dry or natural method, in which whole cherries are spread out in the sun for weeks, turned regularly, and then hulled once dry. This method, still common in Ethiopia and Brazil, produces beans with fruity, wine-like flavors. By contrast, the wet or washed method involves pulping the cherries, fermenting the beans to remove sticky fruit layers, and then washing them clean. This produces a brighter, cleaner taste and is favored in places like Colombia and Central America. A newer approach, called the honey process, leaves some fruit on the bean during drying, giving the coffee a balance of sweetness and clarity. But these methods are not just about flavor, they're also about people. Processing is extremely labor-intensive, and in many coffee-growing countries, farms rely heavily on manual work. Families often participate together, and unfortunately, this sometimes includes children. Reports from Côte d'Ivoire, Honduras, Guatemala, and Vietnam have documented children missing school to help harvest, sort, and process coffee cherries, often under difficult conditions. For many families living in poverty, the extra hands are seen as necessary for survival. This is one of the reasons why fair trade movements and ethical certifications emerged, to ensure coffee farmers receive fair wages and to reduce reliance on child labor. The journey from cherry to green bean is long, complex, and deeply human. Each method, natural, washed, or honey, not only shapes the flavor in our cup, but also carries a story of tradition, hard work, and the ongoing struggle to make coffee production more sustainable and just. From a biological perspective, the moment you take a sip, your brain is the first to feel the effects. The caffeine in coffee acts as a natural stimulant by blocking adenosine, a chemical that builds up during the day and signals the brain that it's time to rest. With adenosine blocked, neurons fire more actively, and the brain releases neurotransmitters like dopamine and norepinephrine, leading to greater alertness, sharper focus, and an improved mood. This is why coffee makes you feel more awake and energetic, even after a poor night's sleep. At the same time, caffeine triggers the release of adrenaline, the body's fight or flight hormone, which explains the faster heartbeat and surge of energy many people feel after drinking it. The effects don't stop at the brain. Caffeine increases metabolism slightly, encouraging the body to burn more calories and release fatty acids that muscles can use for energy. This is why athletes sometimes rely on coffee to enhance endurance and performance. Coffee also stimulates the digestive tract, which for some people results in quicker bowel movements, and its mild diuretic effect increases urine output. Beyond caffeine, coffee contains hundreds of biologically active compounds, including antioxidants, which help reduce oxidative stress and may play a role in protecting against conditions like type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's disease. However, the biological effects of coffee are a double-edged sword. Too much caffeine overstimulates the nervous system, leading to jitteriness, anxiety, or even heart palpitations. Because it suppresses melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep, drinking coffee late in the day can interfere with rest, and over time, the brain adapts to regular caffeine intake by producing more adenosine receptors, which is why frequent drinkers develop tolerance. In short, coffee's biological impact is powerful. It sharpens the mind, fuels the body, and may even protect long-term health, but only when consumed in balance. Its addictive pull comes from the way it shapes both the brain and behavior over time. With regular consumption, caffeine gradually trains the body to expect stimulation at certain times of day, morning, midday, or even late at night, hardwiring it into daily routine. The brain adapts by building tolerance, which means that the same amount of coffee eventually feels weaker, compelling drinkers to increase their intake to reach the same level of alertness. This cycle of dependence becomes clear when coffee is skipped. Within 12 to 24 hours, many experience throbbing headaches, heavy fatigue, irritability, mental fog, and an inability to focus, symptoms that can last for days and push people back toward the comforting relief of their next cup. But the real secret to coffee's widespread addiction is the blend of biology and psychology. On the biological level, caffeine influences dopamine, the brain's motivation and reward neurotransmitter, creating a mild but reliable sense of pleasure and focus. On the psychological level, the rituals surrounding coffee are just as powerful as the chemistry itself. The hiss of an espresso machine, the earthy aroma of freshly ground beans, the warmth of a cup cradled between the hands, and even the social traditions of coffee houses, all of these cues reinforce the habit and strengthen the bond between drinker and beverage. Over centuries, coffee has evolved into far more than a stimulant. It is a cultural symbol of productivity, comfort, and community. While its dependence is considered mild compared to nicotine or alcohol, the sheer scale of its use makes coffee one of the most universal and socially accepted addictions in human history. The connection it has with the brain is a compelling blend of rewards and risks. On one hand, caffeine acts as a powerful mental enhancer, sharpening focus, boosting short-term memory, and energizing the mind to perform at higher levels of concentration. Elevating dopamine and serotonin levels, it produces a sense of motivation, well-being, and sometimes even mild euphoria, which is why many people feel more creative or sociable after their morning cup. Studies consistently suggest that moderate coffee intake can act as a shield against age-related decline, lowering the risks of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, while also enhancing learning and problem-solving skills in the short term. Yet the same compound that fuels mental performance can just as easily disrupt it when taken excessively. High doses are notorious for triggering anxiety, restlessness, or racing thoughts, and in vulnerable individuals, they may worsen mental health conditions like panic disorder, bipolar disorder, or insomnia. Withdrawal from caffeine, too, can dramatically affect mood, causing irritability, brain fog, and a temporary drop in motivation. Beyond chemistry, coffee's role as a social beverage also shapes mental health. Sharing a cup in cafes, offices, or homes fosters connection, conversation, and a subtle but powerful lift to emotional well-being. Ultimately, coffee molds the brain in both subtle and dramatic ways, offering a mental edge and emotional comfort when consumed wisely, but carrying risks of agitation, dependency, and psychological strain when overused. So, is coffee healthy? And should you drink it or not? The truth is more complex than a simple yes or no. Coffee is one of the most researched beverages in the world, and evidence shows that moderate consumption, usually defined as 3 to 4 cups a day, offers remarkable benefits. Rich in antioxidants like chlorogenic acids, coffee helps combat inflammation and oxidative stress, which play a role in aging and chronic diseases. Regular drinkers are statistically less likely to develop conditions such as type 2 diabetes, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, and even certain cancers. For the liver, coffee is almost a medicine. It lowers the risk of cirrhosis, fatty liver disease, and liver cancer more effectively than most dietary interventions. Athletes also use caffeine strategically, as it boosts adrenaline, increases endurance, and sharpens mental performance. But coffee is not without its darker side. For people who are sensitive to caffeine or genetically slower at metabolizing it, even 1 cup can cause racing heartbeats, nervousness, or insomnia. Drinking too much can backfire, leading to dependence, disrupted sleep, or withdrawal symptoms like headaches and fatigue. Unfiltered brews, such as Turkish coffee or French press, can raise cholesterol because of oils like cafestal and kawil. Pregnant women are advised to limit their intake, as high caffeine levels may affect fetal development. Coffee can also irritate the digestive system, worsening reflux or stomach discomfort in some individuals. And while it is a mild diuretic, the risk of dehydration only arises with excessive intake. When consumed aggressively, 5, 6, or more strong cups a day, the risks multiply. Blood pressure can rise, the cardiovascular system can be strained, bone density may decline due to reduced calcium absorption, and chronic anxiety or even panic attacks can be triggered. Some studies suggest that excessive caffeine may worsen heart arrhythmias or increase the likelihood of gastrointestinal ulcers. In rare cases of extreme overuse, caffeine intoxication can lead to tremors, confusion, and even hospitalization. In the end, whether coffee is healthy depends on who you are, how much you drink, and when you drink it. For most people, moderate coffee consumption is not only safe but beneficial, offering a balance of pleasure and protection. But like any powerful substance, overindulgence can tip the scales toward harm. Perhaps the best advice is this: enjoy your coffee as both a daily ritual and a natural medicine, but respect its strength, listen to your body, and let moderation be your guiding rule. It has been a cultural force shaping societies for centuries. In the Middle East, the first coffee houses became gathering spots for poets, scholars, and political thinkers, often described as the birthplaces of modern social life. By the time coffee reached Europe, it had transformed into what was called the penny university, a place where merchants, philosophers, and scientists could debate ideas over a cheap cup. In England, these coffee houses directly contributed to the rise of newspapers and even the London Stock Exchange. Across the Atlantic, coffee helped forge American identity. After the Boston Tea Party, drinking tea became unpatriotic, and coffee rose as the patriotic choice. Beyond politics, coffee weaves deeply into traditions. Ethiopia's ceremonial roasting, Turkey's UNESCO-recognized brewing rituals, and Sweden's beloved fika reflect how coffee is intertwined with hospitality and community. It even powered industrial progress, replacing beer as the workers' fuel during the Industrial Revolution. In modern times, coffee has become a symbol of identity and lifestyle, from Italy's espresso rituals to Japan's quiet Kissitten cafes, and from Vienna's literary coffee houses to the global Starbucks empire. Whether fueling revolutions, inspiring art, or shaping social traditions, coffee is a thread woven tightly into the fabric of human culture, both past and present. Its reputation has often been shaped more by myths than by facts. One of the most persistent claims is that coffee stunts growth, yet research has consistently shown no effect on height. Another widespread misconception is that darker roasts pack more caffeine, when in reality, lighter roasts generally hold slightly more due to less heat exposure. Many also assume that a strong, tasting coffee means it contains extra caffeine, when strength is really about flavor intensity, not chemical content. Some myths even enter the realm of wishful thinking, like the belief that a strong cup of coffee can sober up an intoxicated person. It cannot. It only makes them feel more alert, while alcohol continues to impair the brain. Similarly, coffee is sometimes unfairly blamed for ulcers, though science proves they stem from bacterial infections or medications. Even coffee types are misunderstood. Instant coffee is often thought of as inferior, yet it contains nearly the same nutrition as fresh brews. Additionally, cold brew also surprises many. It often contains more caffeine than hot coffee due to its longer steeping time. Beyond that, people still worry that coffee causes infertility, that milk somehow makes it bad, or that energy drinks are safer, though in reality, many energy drinks are loaded with far higher caffeine and added sugars. Coffee, then, is less a culprit of these imagined harms and more a victim of cultural exaggeration, its myths surviving simply because they've been repeated for generations. Far beyond being just a drink, it is a treasury of curiosities that never cease to surprise true enthusiasts. For starters, those beans you grind are not beans at all, but actually seeds from a coffee cherry. And while most of us simply brew and sip, some cultures take coffee to the extreme. In Japan, you can literally bathe in coffee pools at specialized spas. On the opposite end of extravagance is Kopi Luwak, the world's most expensive coffee, made from beans that pass through the digestive system of civet cats. Strange as that sounds, coffee culture has never been ordinary. Historical figures certainly embraced its quirks. Beethoven counted exactly 60 beans per cup, while Voltaire consumed up to 50 cups a day, rivaled only by Balzac, who reportedly overdosed on his marathon coffee binges of more than 50 cups in a sitting. But coffee's story is not all personal obsession. It's also global influence. Finland holds the crown for the world's highest coffee consumption per capita. While in the 18th century, coffee houses became hubs of innovation during the Age of Enlightenment, where philosophers and revolutionaries gathered to exchange ideas. In America, coffee gained a patriotic image after the Boston Tea Party of 1773, when drinking tea became un-American, and coffee rose as the people's beverage. Yet coffee was not always celebrated. In Mecca in 1511, it was even banned for a time because leaders feared it stirred rebellious thinking. Science and technology, too, bear coffee's fingerprints. The first webcam ever created at Cambridge University was invented for the sole purpose of monitoring a coffee pot, a humorous milestone that foreshadowed our video-centered world. And though we often think of espresso as the strongest coffee, the term actually means pressed out in Italian, not strong. Similarly, while many turn to decaf to avoid caffeine, few realize it still contains 2 to 5 milligrams per cup. For those who prefer instant convenience, thank Japanese chemist Satoru Kato, who invented instant coffee in 1901. And if modern coffee culture thrives on quirky records, Colombia certainly holds one, having brewed the largest cup of coffee in 2019, containing over 22,000 liters. Beyond consumption, coffee has surprising secondary uses. Coffee grounds can be recycled as fertilizer, a natural deodorizer, or even turned into biofuel. And while some people enjoy it for productivity, others swear it boosts their creativity, with research suggesting caffeine can enhance divergent thinking and spark new ideas. Even astronauts can't live without it. Aboard the International Space Station, they sip specially designed zero-gravity coffee pouches, proving that humanity will take its love of coffee beyond Earth itself. And if you've ever worried about calories, you'll be relieved to know that a cup of black coffee has fewer calories than a slice of apple, making it one of the most guilt-free pleasures on the planet. From fueling Enlightenment debates to fueling Beethoven's morning routine, from inspiring inventions to surviving bands, coffee has proven itself far more than a beverage. It is at once ordinary and extraordinary, a cultural icon that inspires obsession, innovation, and even laughter. These fun and surprising facts remind us that behind every cup lies not just caffeine, but centuries of eccentricity, history, and human creativity.